In a busy city, there lived a young woman named Charlotte Everly. Charlotte was in her late 20s and had just started her first real job as a project manager at a technology company. She worked hard to get her degree in business management. It was not easy for her. While studying, she faced many late nights and stressful exams. Now, her dream career was beginning, but it did not feel perfect. Charlotte often felt nervous and unsure of herself. Charlotte was friendly, kind, and had a good sense of humor. She loved to make people laugh, even when she felt nervous. Her friends said this was her best trait. In her free time, she enjoyed reading books about personal growth and watching inspiring movies. These hobbies helped her feel like anything was possible, even if it was hard for her to believe that about herself. When she was not working, Charlotte loved going for long walks in the park and painting. Nature and creativity filled her with happiness. Despite her bright personality, Charlotte faced real-life challenges. At work, she sometimes struggled to speak up in meetings. This made her feel small in the big office full of talented people. She worried about what others would think when she shared her ideas. Charlotte wanted to be a strong leader, but often felt that others were better than her. Each day brought new pressure to do well. She wanted to impress her bosses and prove she was worthy of her position. One of the biggest challenges Charlotte faced was making connections with her new coworkers. In her last job, she quickly made friends, but this time it was different. The office environment was busy and tense. Charlotte wanted to build relationships, but she felt shy and hesitant. She often ate lunch alone, worrying that she would not know what to say. This made her feel lonely, and her confidence dropped lower each day. Through these experiences, Charlotte learned about herself. She understood that feeling scared was part of taking new steps. Each fear offered a lesson. If she wanted to grow as a project manager and as a person, she had to find the courage to face her challenges. She wanted to learn new skills, improve her leadership, and be brave enough to speak her mind. Also, more than anything, Charlotte wanted to find friends who could support her in this journey. In the end, Charlotte believed in her ability to change. She knew that everyone goes through difficult times and learns from them. With determination and self-belief, she hoped to conquer fears, build strong relationships, and become not just a good project manager, but a person others admired and respected. As the story of Charlotte Harper began, the stage was set for growth, achievement, and the light of friendship to shine even brighter in her life. As the days passed, Charlotte began to face new challenges at her new job. She was excited but also nervous about her role as a project manager. One day, while she was reviewing the project details, she felt a cloud of anxiety looming over her. It started with small comments from her coworker, Jenna. Jenna was known for being talented, but her tone was often sharp. During a team meeting, Charlotte suggested a new idea for the upcoming project. Jenna rolled her eyes and said, "That's not how we do things here, Charlotte. We need to stick to what works." Charlotte felt her face grow hot, and embarrassment washed over her. After the meeting, Jenna approached Charlotte. "You should learn from others before sharing ideas," she said with a smug smile. Charlotte wanted to argue back, but she felt too nervous. She did not want to make things worse. Instead, she nodded and walked away feeling small. This bullying started to happen more often. Jenna made comments that seemed harmless but cut deep. "Why are you still having trouble with that report? Or you didn't know that? Everyone knows that." Each remark created a weight on Charlotte's heart. She began to dread meetings and felt anxious before every team project. At first, Charlotte tried to brush it off. She thought, maybe Jenna is having a bad day. But as the weeks went on, Jenna's words made Charlotte doubt herself more. When her boss, Mr. Anderson, would ask for updates, Charlotte felt she had to explain not only her work, but also defend her ideas against Jenna's comments. "I don't know how you got this position," Jenna whispered one afternoon after another meeting. "I work harder than you." Just then, Mr. Anderson walked by. "You're sounding a bit upset, Jenna. Everything all right?" He didn't hear her last words. Jenna quickly replied, "Oh, I'm just helping Charlotte here." Charlotte felt trapped. She wanted to speak up, but the words stuck in her throat. Instead of standing up for herself, she just smiled weakly. With her confidence slipping away, Charlotte began to feel stress and sadness. One afternoon, Charlotte sat alone in the break room. She stared at her phone, scrolling through social media while trying to avoid thoughts of work. Suddenly, her friend Jamie came in. "You look lost in thought. What's going on?" Charlotte sighed and shared everything about Jenna. "I feel like I cannot do anything right," Charlotte confessed. As Charlotte spoke, her voice trembled with emotion. Jamie listened and offered kind words. You have great ideas, Charlotte. You can't let her push you down. Feeling slightly better, Charlotte realized that standing up for herself might be important. The pressure to conform and please others was so strong. Yet, she remembered why she took this job. She wanted to learn, grow, and be a leader. Thinking about this every day was hard, but deep down, she felt a spark of hope. She wanted to replace her self-doubt with self-belief. She began to think about how she could talk to Jenna or Mr. Anderson. Maybe there was a way to create change at her workplace. With new determination, Charlotte decided she wouldn't let Jenna win. Taking a deep breath, she stood up, ready to confront her challenges. The struggle was growing, yet so was her fire to fight back and build her career. Charlotte was ready to take control of her journey. As days turned into weeks, the tension in Charlotte's workplace grew stronger. The comments from Jenna started to weigh heavily on her mind. Each time they met, Jenna seemed to find new ways to cut down Charlotte's confidence. During daily check-ins, Jenna would interrupt her, saying, "I don't think that's a good plan, Charlotte. Maybe you should just follow my lead." Each sharp remark echoed in Charlotte's mind, mixing with her fears and doubts. Charlotte noticed something troubling. The joy she once felt for her job began to fade. Simple tasks became harder to finish, and her mind felt clouded. When it was time to work on a new report, Charlotte sat at her desk with a heavy heart. She forgot important details and made mistakes she never made before. Her stomach twisted in knots. "What is wrong with me?" she thought. The walls of her office seemed to close in, and she wished for a way out. Her productivity began to slip. Charlotte often stared at the screen, but words would not come. Afternoons felt endless as she sat in silence, feeling isolated. Even at lunchtime, when friends gathered to talk and laugh, Charlotte stayed away. She felt embarrassed and alone. After a few days of this loneliness, Charlotte found herself questioning everything. "Maybe I am not meant to do this job. Everyone else seems so good at it," she whispered to herself. Internally, Charlotte faced a struggle. Should she stand up to Jenna? That felt risky and scary. Would it only make costs rise? What if it led to more hurtful comments? On the other hand, staying silent felt like giving up. Thinking of quitting crossed her mind. Maybe a different job would be better, she thought. But leaving was hard. She had dreamed of working in this field for so long. The pressure of her decision made her heart quicken. One chilly morning, Charlotte came into the office feeling especially low. As she entered, she heard Jenna's voice ringing out, mocking another coworker. "Can you believe they thought that idea would work?" Jenna laughed with a group of people around her. Charlotte felt anger bubbling up inside her. She could see the pain on her coworker's face. It confirmed what she feared about the office environment. Moments later, Charlotte tried to push those feelings away as she walked to her desk. Deep down, she wanted to be brave and stand up, not just for herself, but also for others. What if I could change things, she thought. But shake this doubt felt impossible. Instead, she buried it under her desk, playing it back in her mind. Later that day, Charlotte spoke with Jamie again. They sat together in the break room. "You seem different, Charlotte. What is it?" Jamie asked, noticing the stress in her eyes. Charlotte sighed deeply. She felt a rush of emotions. "I don't know if I can do it anymore. I feel lost and unhappy." Jamie listened with care. "You are brave, Charlotte. You just need to trust yourself," Jamie responded with warmth. Feeling Jamie's support gave Charlotte a little boost, but she was still unsure. The struggle with her decision loomed over her like a shadow. Each question about her abilities only deepened her sense of isolation and despair. But somewhere inside, the fire to fight back flickered. Charlotte realized that she could not stay silent forever. The hope of changing her story was growing, pushing back against the heaviness she felt. She just had to find the right moment to break free from the chains of doubt and fear that held her down. As the month rolled on, Charlotte felt trapped under the weight of her workplace struggles. Each day was a reminder of how hard it was to work with Jenna. Tension built until one dreary afternoon, Charlotte reached her breaking point. She was preparing for a big presentation that could decide her future in the company. The time to shine had come, but instead of excitement, Charlotte felt dread. The meeting room was filled with her team members, including Mr. Anderson, who expected a strong presentation. Charlotte had spent hours creating slides and practicing her speech. However, as she began to speak, panic washed over her. Jenna sat in the front, a cruel smile on her face. As soon as Charlotte mentioned her main idea, Jenna interrupted. Really, Charlotte? That is your big plan? That won't work at all. You should have worked harder. The words cut deep, and the room grew silent. Charlotte felt a rush of heat rise in her cheeks, and fear gripped her heart. She hesitated and looked around at her team, suddenly unsure of everything she had prepared. With her confidence shattered, Charlotte stumbled over her words. The shame was unbearable. A deep sense of failure washed over her as panic ignited. All of her hard work felt wasted. In that tense moment, Charlotte caught sight of her co-workers' faces. Some looked confused, others seemed bored. The weight of Jenna's criticism felt heavier than ever. Charlotte wanted to speak up, to tell Jenna to stop, but self-doubt held her back. She stood frozen, the room spinning. This was supposed to be her moment, yet everything felt hopeless. Why can't I do this? She asked herself quietly. After the meeting, Charlotte left feeling broken inside. She walked to her desk, a lump in her throat. Tears threatened to spill from her eyes. She thought about how far she had fallen. For a week, her heart sank with each insult, twisting her stomach into knots. As she sat down and placed her head in her hands, she realized how much she had changed. The once confident Charlotte was now lost in fear and anguish. That day, a moment of clarity came during her lunch break. As she sat alone, scrolling through her phone, she stumbled upon a quote. It read, "Your voice matters." The simple words resonated in her heart. Tears rolled down her cheeks as she thought about her situation. Does my voice truly matter? She wondered. Using her voice felt scarier than ever, but was it really the right time to stay quiet? Charlotte stood up suddenly, wiping her tears away. She could not keep living like this. Something had to change, and it had to start with her. After deep breaths, she decided that she would talk to Mr. Anderson about her struggles with her team and Jenna. It was time to take a stand for herself and confront her fears. Determined, she approached her boss's office just as her heart raced. The hallway felt longer than usual. Even though anxiety struck her chest, Charlotte pushed forward. She knew she could no longer let Jenna's bullying dictate her career or her life. This was a decisive moment, one that could start to heal her aching spirit. As she reached out to knock on the door, Charlotte felt a swell of energy inside. She was ready to face her doubts and say what needed to be said. Change was on the horizon, and it was finally time for her to take control. Charlotte stood in front of Mr. Anderson's office door, heart racing. She took a deep breath, preparing to voice her pain and frustration. The moment she knocked, the weight of what she was about to do loomed large. Mr. Anderson looked up and waved her inside, giving a slight smile. But as Charlotte entered, that smile faded when he noticed her nervous demeanor. The door closed behind her with a soft click, which sounded much louder in the silence of the room. "Charlotte, can I help you?" Mr. Anderson asked with concern. The kindness in his voice should have comforted her, but instead, it only raised her anxiety. She stammered, struggling to find the words she had rehearsed in her mind. Suddenly, all her confidence had vanished. It felt like the walls were closing in on her again, and she could hardly breathe. Before Charlotte could speak, Mr. Anderson paused for a moment. "Is everything all right with your project? I noticed you seemed off during the presentation." His question crashed over her like icy water. Instead of addressing the underlying issue with Jenna, she talked about the project. "It's going well, but Panic took hold, and Charlotte found it hard to continue. The fear of judgment was overwhelming as she sat there, silent. "I need to tell him the truth," she thought, shaking inside. But before she managed to speak the words, another interruption came. Jenna knocked and entered without waiting for a response. "Oh, hi, Charlotte. I hope you're not bothering Mr. Anderson," she said with a teasing tone. The forcefulness of Jenna's presence filled the room, pushing Charlotte's courage deep down. In that instant, Charlotte knew that this was not just about her voice, but about holding on to her dignity. She managed a weak smile and looked away, feeling small again. Mr. Anderson frowned, sensing the tension rising. "Jenna, can I speak to you for a second, please?" he said firmly, sending Jenna back outside. For that brief moment alone, Charlotte felt a slip of hope. Maybe he will support me, she thought. Maybe I can finally share my concerns. However, Jenna's quick return shattered that hope. She strode back into the room, arms crossed, wearing a smirk. "Mr. Anderson, I can't believe Charlotte was even trying to pitch ideas. She can never get things right," Jenna interjected, cutting through the moment with her sharp words. Charlotte's stomach dropped. Every cruel word from Jenna felt like a dagger. The hope that had built from speaking with Mr. Anderson faded quickly. Instead, internal turmoil erupted, causing guilt to wash over her. Did she cause this? Should she have been stronger? Feeling helpless and ashamed, Charlotte sat quiet. Mr. Anderson looked at her, still mildly stern. "Is this true, Charlotte?" he asked softly. "Are you having problems?" Panic gripped her heart. The fear of speaking up turned into anxiety. What if saying the truth only made things worse? I, I just am trying to do my best, was all Charlotte could manage. She wished to scream that she felt scared and bullied, yet the rooftops of her mind closed off all words. The silence was heavy, and with each passing moment, Charlotte wished for escape. Guilt bubbled inside her. I should just go. This job was too overwhelming, she thought. The opportunity she hoped to grasp slipped through her fingers like sand. If she left, she would lose a dream she fought so hard for. The moment dragged on, leaving her feeling trapped in a cycle of fear and regret. The deep sadness washed over her, and she could only hope that things would change somehow. But darkness clouded her path, and Charlotte felt lost in the shadows of uncertainty. As Charlotte sat in the uncomfortable silence of Mr. Anderson's office, a wave of despair washed over her. Jenna's unfair remarks echoed in her mind. The mix of emotions made her feel drained and weak. Just when Charlotte thought she couldn't bear it any longer, her phone buzzed in her pocket. She felt a sudden jolt of energy as she pulled it out, hoping for some comfort. A message popped up from Jamie. "Remember, you are strong. You got this. Talk to me when you can." Those words pierced through her dark cloud of emotions, bringing a spark of hope. Charlotte felt warmth spreading in her heart. Jamie was right. She did have strength within her. She had fought hard to get to this job. All the late nights, the hard work, and the passion she poured into her career were not for nothing. In that moment, she realized the truth. It was time to stop being afraid and start standing up for herself. Inspiration ignited within her. Charlotte thought about how much had changed since she started working at the company. She had come in eager and ready to learn. She had valid ideas. Charlotte was not just a junior employee, but a person with potential. Suddenly, she wanted to stop hiding from the challenges facing her. Jenna might be mean, but she would not allow that to define her. Without giving it another second thought, Charlotte straightened in her chair. The nervousness she felt slowly turned into determination. "I will speak to Mr. Anderson. I need to share my feelings," she whispered to herself. This thought brought a burst of energy. The fear of judgment seemed smaller as she focused on what needed to be done. No longer would she let uncomfortable words hold her back. When Mr. Anderson returned to the room, he looked curious. "Charlotte, how can I help?" he asked gently. This time, Charlotte met his kind eyes with courage. "I want to talk about Jenna and what she says. Her comments make it really hard for me to work," she said, her voice steady. Mr. Anderson's expression shifted to concern. He listened. "It seems to bother you a lot. We need a good team to succeed. I appreciate you telling me this," he responded. Charlotte felt relief flood through her as she heard support in his voice. This was the moment she had needed, a chance to share her truths. "I want to be a part of a team where everyone feels safe and heard," Charlotte continued, growing more confident. Every word felt empowering. "I want to be strong in my role, and I believe I can be if we can make this a better place together." The decision to speak up transformed her spirit. A light filled her chest where darkness had once lingered. Mr. Anderson nodded thoughtfully. "I appreciate your honesty, Charlotte. Bullying or negative behavior is never acceptable. I want to help change that." With those words, Charlotte felt hope and relief. This shift created a clear pathway towards forming a collaborative and respectful work environment. As Charlotte stepped out of Mr. Anderson's office, a smile broke on her face for the first time in weeks. The heavy weight had lifted, replaced by a feeling of empowerment. She realized that speaking up was the first step toward a healthier workplace. "I can do this," she said to herself, excitement pulsing through her. With renewed strength, she looked forward to facing whatever came next. Charlotte was ready to reclaim her space and shine brightly. As Charlotte left Mr. Anderson's office, she felt lighter than she had in weeks. The words she had spoken echoed in her mind, filling her with a sense of strength. She had stood up for herself. Now, a glimmer of hope shimmered in her heart. No more hiding. She was ready to embrace change in her workplace. Each small step she took would lead to bigger changes, and that thought excited her. The next day, Charlotte noticed a change in the office atmosphere. Mr. Anderson had called for a team meeting, bringing everyone together to talk about creating a positive work environment. Everyone should feel safe and valued here, he said as he addressed the team. Let's all work together to support one another. Charlotte listened closely, her heart swelling with warmth. She realized that standing up for herself had the power to influence others around her. Waves of relief washed over her as she saw her teammates nodding. Even Jenna, while still tense, seemed less aggressive. Perhaps this change could help them all. Charlotte's mind was racing, feeling thankful that Mr. Anderson was taking action. It gave Charlotte hope that talk alone would not be the final answer. They were all in this together, and now they had a clear path forward. After the meeting, Charlotte found a moment to talk to Jamie. You were right. It feels so good to express my feelings, she said, happiness shining from her eyes. Jamie grinned. I knew you could do it, Charlotte. You're stronger than you think. Their exchange felt uplifting, and Charlotte began to realize how important it was to have supportive friends. These words of encouragement gave her newfound confidence, strengthening her belief in herself. Throughout the following weeks, changes in the office continued. Jenna seemed to make an effort to be less harsh. With every small step she took towards kindness, the tension in the air relaxed. Instead of focusing on negativity, Charlotte's team began gathering ideas and celebrating achievements. Charlotte found herself voicing her thoughts freely, a smile lighting on her face. The fear that used to hold her back was fading, replaced by the joy of being part of a team. As she worked on her projects, Charlotte reflected on how brave she had been. I can change my own story, she thought with pride. Her journey was not perfect, but with each challenge, her confidence grew. She recognized the power of her voice and how important it was to be an advocate for herself. This realization sparked energy within her, a desire to help others find their voices too. One sunny afternoon, following a successful team project, Charlotte approached Mr. Anderson. I appreciate your support in making our workplace better, she said, her heart racing with excitement. Mr. Anderson smiled back warmly. You played a big part in this change, Charlotte. Your courage to speak up made a difference. His words made Charlotte feel empowered and valued more than ever. She realized that, like her, everyone else had the ability to challenge their fears and ensure positive growth. She felt motivated to build stronger relationships and help her coworkers become more connected. Hope filled the air, and together with her team, they were now on the path to success. As days turned into weeks, Charlotte found a strong sense of belonging. The office felt more positive, and she thrived in the support they now shared. That spark of inspiration she had found within herself carried her forward. She knew this was only the beginning of something bigger. Together, they could create a workplace where everyone had the power to rise and shine. Forever grateful, Charlotte recognized her courage had already changed her story and the stories of those around her. As the weeks went by, Charlotte felt a new energy in the office. Her team members began to open up more, exchanging ideas and sharing laughs. Charlotte loved being part of this positive environment. Yet, deep down, she knew that the fight was not over. She still needed to set strong boundaries, especially with Jenna. One morning, as they gathered in the meeting room for team updates, Charlotte sensed a familiar tension. Jenna walked in late and shot a cold glare at Charlotte. I hope you are not going to waste our time with silly ideas again, Jenna sneered. The room went quiet, and Charlotte's heart raced. The warmth from the recent positive change began to fade quickly, replaced by uneasiness. In that moment, Charlotte remembered her growth. She decided it was time to be clear about her boundaries. Taking a deep breath, she replied firmly, I believe we all have important contributions to make. My ideas can help us succeed. The words came out stronger than she felt. She noticed some of her teammates nodding, and the tide seemed to shift in her favor. Jenna looked taken aback. For a brief moment, Charlotte worried that Jenna would lash out even more. But instead of reacting with anger, Jenna hesitated. A bit of uncertainty crossed her face, and for the first time, Charlotte felt powerful. It was clear that setting boundaries was necessary. After the meeting, Charlotte found Jamie. I feel shaky but relieved, Charlotte confessed. It is so hard to stand up to Jenna. Jamie smiled warmly. You did great. Keep speaking up. Others will start to follow your lead. Their conversation filled Charlotte with confidence. She realized that even small acts of courage could create a big change. Determined to tackle the toxic behavior head-on, Charlotte scheduled a one-on-one meeting with Mr. Anderson. She wanted to address Jenna's behavior and the need for clearer boundaries at work. The following week, as she walked into his office, she felt the familiar weight of fear creep back in. What if he doesn't understand? She worried. But when she explained Jenna's comments, Mr. Anderson listened attentively. I want everyone to feel respected, he said sincerely. Let's work together to create training in conflict resolution and team building. Charlotte felt a wave of relief wash over her. Not only was her boss supportive, but he also seemed eager to help. This was a sign of change for everyone in the office. A few days later, during another team meeting, Mr. Anderson announced the new training program. He encouraged all team members to take part and expressed that they should learn how to communicate better. He also stressed that every suggestion mattered. Charlotte could see Jenna sink back into her chair, her face deflating as she realized her behavior was under scrutiny. In the following weeks, Charlotte noticed a shift in the workplace. Each team training session led to honest conversations about respect and collaboration. Gradually, even Jenna started to join the discussions. Charlotte remained cautious but hopeful. Maybe things can truly change, she thought. As Charlotte continued to stand her ground, her confidence grew. She no longer feared Jenna's comments, nor was she affected deeply by them. She recognized the strength within herself. Before, she felt overwhelmed by negativity, but now she took pride in being part of a supportive team. This journey had taught her the importance of setting boundaries, not just for herself, but for everyone around her. Charlotte began to see that she was moving into a brighter and more positive workplace. With determination, she stepped further into her newfound strength, ready to lead and uplift others for the brave steps ahead. Her growth had created space for change, allowing other voices to emerge and join her on this journey of transformation. As the days went by, Charlotte settled into her role with newfound confidence. The training sessions on communication created a positive shift in the workplace. Everyone began to work together better, focusing on respect and cooperation. Even Jenna seemed to soften, participating more during discussions. However, one afternoon, things took an unexpected turn. During a team project meeting, Mr. Anderson announced an upcoming deadline for their latest assignment. The room buzzed with energy and ideas. Charlotte felt inspired. This is our chance to show what we can do, she thought eagerly. As everyone discussed their tasks and strategies, she spoke up clearly about her ideas. Jenna, however, couldn't resist her familiar habit. That idea won't work, Charlotte. You should listen to someone experienced like me, she interrupted. Instead of feeling defeated, Charlotte took a deep breath. Actually, my idea could benefit the project, she responded calmly. Just as she finished speaking, another colleague named Mark raised his hand. I believe in Charlotte's idea. It has great potential, he said confidently. Charlotte's heart lifted as she heard Mark's words. For months, she felt alone in her struggles, but now someone stood up for her. The support from Mark felt like a shield against Jenna's negativity. Charlotte smiled, finally realizing she was not alone anymore. This small act of bravery from a coworker solidified the growth Charlotte had made. After the meeting, Charlotte expressed her gratitude to Mark. Thank you for standing up for me. I needed that, she admitted, smiling brightly. We should support each other more, Mark replied, giving her a reassuring nod. Their bond grew stronger in that moment. Charlotte understood the value of teamwork and how powerful it could be to encourage one another. The task for the deadline became a turning point for Charlotte and her team. They all worked hard together, blending ideas and forming new plans. Charlotte took charge, leading discussions that turned into action. With each task completed, her confidence soared. She realized how much she had transformed since the beginning of her journey. As they neared the project deadline, Charlotte felt a sense of peace. The toxic environment had begun to fade away. Now, she felt happy and wanted to contribute to a healthy workplace. This change sparked a new desire within her, to create spaces where everyone felt safe and heard. Her heart swelled with pride as she saw the project coming together. On the day of the presentation, feelings of excitement filled the room. Charlotte shared her ideas confidently while her teammates supported her. When it was over, Mr. Anderson praised their collaborative effort. You have all shown growth and teamwork that truly stands out. Well done, he said with a broad smile. In that moment, Charlotte recognized that she had achieved something important. It was not just about completing the project, but standing proud as part of a united team. She had also built a stronger mindset, standing firmly for herself and encouraging others to do the same. That evening, as Charlotte left work, she felt triumphant. She recognized all of that was just the beginning. Each step she took forward carried the essence of what she had learned. With the support of her colleagues and the strength she found in herself, Charlotte was excited about the future. Armed with motivation and clarity, she knew she could continue to create a positive environment. Each victory was proof that a small act could lead to bigger changes, and she felt ready to take on whatever challenges came next. As the weeks turned into months, Charlotte felt a strong sense of change at work. The atmosphere had turned from one of fear and negativity to support and cooperation. The team's bond grew deeper, and their ability to share ideas led to success in their projects. Charlotte realized that standing up for herself and encouraging others to do the same had made a real difference. This new environment felt like a second chance. One morning, during a team meeting, Mr. Anderson praised everyone for their hard work. "We have achieved great things together," he said with pride. "Let's continue growing and supporting one another." Hearing these words filled Charlotte with joy. She recognized just how far everyone had come, and she felt proud to be a part of it. Yet deep down, she knew that her journey was not finished. At lunch that day, Charlotte met with Jamie at their usual spot. They chatted excitedly about their latest project when Jamie leaned forward. "So, what are your long-term goals, Charlotte?" Jamie asked with curiosity. Charlotte paused for a moment, a smile forming on her lips. "I want to become a strong leader, a person others can look up to," she replied confidently. Jamie nodded in approval, encouraging her forward. After their conversation, Charlotte felt inspired. Instead of merely reacting to negativity, she wanted to be proactive about her career. She began to set clear goals for herself. First, she wanted to improve her leadership skills. Charlotte knew that with training and experience, she could guide others and help them grow. She planned to enroll in a leadership course to learn new techniques and strategies. Over the next few months, Charlotte actively sought out opportunities to help her team. She started mentoring newer employees, encouraging them to express their ideas and speak confidently. Watching their growth made her feel fulfilled. She understood that success was not only about individual achievements, but also about helping others shine. One day, as Charlotte was working, she received an email about a promotion opportunity. Mr. Anderson was looking for employees who demonstrated strong leadership and collaborative skills. Her heart raced with excitement and fear. Was she ready for this? Could she lead confidently? As she thought about applying for the promotion, Charlotte felt stronger than ever. She had overcome challenges and shown that she could stand up for herself and others. With renewed confidence, she knew she wouldn't let fear hold her back this time. "I can do this," she whispered to herself. At the end of the week, after considering her decision carefully, Charlotte sent in her application. She wrote her thoughts about leadership and teamwork in clear and honest words. As she hit send, a wave of calmness washed over her. No matter the outcome, she had taken a bold step forward. In the following days, news of her application spread around the office. Coworkers began congratulating her for taking such a brave action. Their support lit her spirit even higher. Charlotte realized this moment was more than just a step toward a promotion. It was a celebration of her growth. In the days to come, Charlotte focused on remaining positive and helpful to others, no matter what happened. She felt grateful to have built a supportive team and a stronger mindset. The challenges she faced had transformed into stepping stones, guiding her toward her true potential. Life was not just about overcoming obstacles. It was also about learning, growing, and lifting each other up. With this newfound clarity, Charlotte looked forward to where her journey might lead, ready to embrace every opportunity. As the months rolled on, Charlotte felt energized by her growth and the supportive environment around her. She was bustling with excitement after submitting her application for the promotion. Each day brought fresh opportunities. She practiced her leadership skills by leading team meetings and encouraging her colleagues to share their ideas. Watching them grow and thrive gave her a sense of purpose that filled her with joy. One afternoon, while preparing for an upcoming presentation, Charlotte received an email from Mr. Anderson. It contained an update about her promotion application. The moment she clicked it open, her heart raced. "Congratulations. You have been selected for the role of team leader," it read. Charlotte could hardly believe her eyes. Excitement washed over her, and she immediately shared the news with her teammates, who cheered and clapped. overwhelming her with joy. With this new position, Charlotte felt a wave of pride and responsibility. She would now have the opportunity to guide and inspire her team further. With this role came new challenges, but she welcomed them head-on, knowing she had the skills and support to overcome any obstacles. She felt strong and ready to make a difference. Goals she had once felt were out of reach were now becoming reality. As part of her new role, Charlotte planned regular one-on-one meetings with her teammates. She wanted to know their ideas and help them grow. Her focus was not just on completing tasks, but on nurturing a culture of collaboration and trust. She recalled her own struggles. This made her more empathetic toward her colleagues. She wanted them to feel safe speaking up, too. Charlotte also sought more training opportunities. She enrolled in workshops that focused on leadership and personal development. She enjoyed every new lesson learned, filling her toolkit with strategies that would help not only her, but his entire team. "This is just the beginning of our journey together," she shared in a staff meeting, filled with enthusiasm. During one session, Charlotte reflected on the changes in her life. She no longer feared challenges. Instead, she saw them as opportunities for growth. She had transformed her mindset and embraced a healthier approach to her work environment. Each small challenge she faced inspired new lessons for herself and others. As the season changed, Charlotte and her team celebrated several successes. They completed many projects, and each victory solidified their bond. The once toxic environment had blossomed into a community where everyone felt valued. The fear that used to linger in the office was now replaced with laughter, teamwork, and support. Looking ahead, Charlotte felt a strong sense of gratitude. She held the knowledge that she could truly navigate any challenges that came her way. The skills she developed worked not only in the office, but also in her personal life. To further enhance her personal growth, Charlotte began practicing mindfulness techniques, helping her remain centered even when things got tough. "If I can create this courage in myself," she thought, "then I can create a ripple effect for others." Her focus on a healthy mindset helped her see challenges as stepping stones, not roadblocks. With the future bright and promising, Charlotte looked forward to many more opportunities for learning and connecting. She felt empowered not only as a leader, but as a mentor and friend. Charlotte understood that every step on her journey mattered, and she was ready to embrace whatever came next. The foundation she had built would keep growing, creating a positive, thriving community for everyone involved. In this way, Charlotte remained an inspiring force for those around her, always willing to grow, learn, and uplift others. This was just the beginning of a beautiful adventure.